This is Wednesday night. Again, we come to you right into your home, thanking you for opening up your home for us to come. This is Open Talk with Bishop Kariuki, your pastor and your friend for a long time and the presenter of this program. In this program, all we want to do is to talk. You talk or I talk, or we hear one another and we move on. And we have been bringing different guests to talk and chat with us. And I've received lots of comments from the pastor's kids. The pastor's kids, I think, was one of the best. And I'm still receiving comments from you. Thank you so very much for participating and for being with us. But you know that the pastor alone cannot have kids. The pastor alone cannot have kids. So I thought maybe if we brought the source of the kids, then we would see. There was this thing I had. We went somewhere and I had my sons. I introduced my son, and then he was talking and he said, they told me Gima yumaga mutwine, that ugali comes from the flour, because everybody not complains but compliments and says, "Oh, Bishop, your son looks exactly like you. I thought it was you." Others maybe have even given him their my envelope to instead of giving it to me, thinking it is the one. So since the sons come from the mother and the father, tonight we thought, let's bring in the mothers and let's hear their story or their situation. So today we want to talk to pastors' wives and find out the challenges that the pastor's wife faces and in the ministry. Remember, our foundation or our common denominator is the Word of God. That's what brings us together. So we want to find out the challenges that a pastor's wife goes through and how they are overcome. And to do that, we have two guests that have come to be with us. One of them you have met before, and this is Reverend Faith Dongo, Reverend Faith Dongo from the Overcoming Faith Church.
Yes.
Would you want to say jambo to the people?
Hello, our viewers, and praise the name of the Lord. It's so good to come to you this evening and to come to you again. And I'm excited to be the Open Talk with Bishop Mark.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. And our second guest is a friend of ours. We have been together for many years, but it's the first time in Open Talk.
Yes.
The first time in Open Talk. This is Reverend Alice Kimani. Reverend Alice Kimani is the wife to Bishop Jimmy Kimani, the senior pastor at the Deliverance Church Zimmerman, and she's a mother and a grandmother and an auntie and a friend, all of them put together. So would you want to greet our viewers now, Alice?
Good evening, viewers. Such a privilege, such an honor to be together with you this evening. Thank you so much, Bishop Mark, for welcoming me to this program. I'm looking forward to be blessed.
Oh, yeah.
And I pray I become a blessing to somebody and an encouragement to somebody tonight.
Oh, yeah. Many times when we talk of blessings, a lot of people think of gunyereres. You feel some gunyereres coming and say, I'm blessed. But you see, it is the word that comes out of your mouth that brings change in the life of an individual. It brings life and it brings joy to an individual. And that's the blessing we are talking about. And there is nothing as good as talking experiences, testimonies, what you have gone through, the battles you have fought. You have been in the ministry not for 2 weeks, not for 3 weeks, but for a good time, not a long time, but a good time, a good time. And we just want to glean from the treasures, from the things that you have gone through. We want to glean because there is a pastor's wife there who is suffering. Maybe they have not even talked with the husband. Maybe they have just been quarreling, and because of the food as they sit there at the table, and out of this talk, someone may get. I was preaching one day in those days when we started on KBC, and I was preaching hard Sunday morning, and I was pointed my finger at the camera and said, "Don't pack, Mama. You are packing because you have quarreled. Don't pack." and there was a lady who was actually packing that same moment. And when she was going across the sitting room, the TV was on, and I was there saying, "Mama, don't pack." She got shocked. She stood there and she listened. Don't pack. She sat down. Who told this man I was packing? She sat there, listened to the word. She gave her life to
Amen.
Jesus, and she wrote to me. And those days there were no phones, no cell phones. So she wrote me and said, "Bishop, Pastor Mark, who told you I was packing? I was packing on Sunday when you pointed your finger at me and said, don't pack." Wow. So I pray that tonight as we talk, we'll point a finger at somebody, and they will stop packing, they will stop quarreling, they will stop having headaches, they will stop having those back pains, because you know where you are, others have passed through there. Amen. Okay, so we want to look at the pastor's wife. Now, many pastors' wives have said that they are, that being in their position can be quite lonely. And I think they are right. You feel isolated from other women in the church. You have to carefully choose who you can tell anything personal, lest the next Sunday your personal stories are spread like bonfire. Everybody's looking at you with a strange eye. You are one person who is easily forgotten as the members celebrate their pastor, and this pastor there happens to be your husband, who you quarreled with in the morning before you came to church. Now, in some places, the pastor's wife is to be seen and not to be heard. Now, the question is, what is the place of the pastor's wife within the ministry? What is the place of the pastor's wife within the ministry? Maybe we'll start with Alice. What is your thought on that?
It's such a joy to be part of this discussion. Number one, when I joined the ministry, I used to enjoy the back seat.
Oh, the back seat?
Yes. But I didn't mind being a crowd of believers, going for missions, but not at the forefront. That was me. And now here I come, I get married to a pastor. So it's from the back to the front. And let me say, from this very beginning, that how I found my place is because my husband allowed me, and he held my hand. And from the day one, he acknowledged that I am part of his system. I am part of his ministry. So he was so patient with me until I came to the front now and got used. For your information, the year I got married in March. In November, the 4th, we started a church. So I became an official pastor's wife. I had not finished settling into being a wife. And for your information, I was also expecting. I had not gotten used to carrying a baby. And now that one, a pastor's wife. And I want to, from the onset, to appreciate what the role my husband played in allowing me to be me, and acknowledging me as his closest partner in ministry. So from the onset, he held my hand. Not necessarily to minister, as many people put it, but to be part of whatever he was doing. Because one thing I would want to say is that even before I got married to him, he had made it so clear that he would end up being a pastor. So much as I was a backseat, I knew I'm getting married to a pastor. So when I came in, he received me as a pastor's wife. Wow. But he didn't have those unrealistic expectations. Him as a person. But maybe as time goes by, I'll tell you now where it started touching the road. But for that one, I would say I plugged in because somebody held my hand and affirmed me. And affirmed my position that I am there. Actually, you should tell people I am member number 1. Because any other member can be transferred, can decide to go and open a church, can decide to go and open another church, but I am member number 1. And in that, he has influenced our children. They started positioning themselves. And I remember my daughter when she was getting married and she was inviting people for her wedding. She told them, all the other I hear you calling dad, the bishop, dad, and Pastor Alice, mom, but I want to tell you, the only available number is from number 4. Number 1, 2, 3 have already been taken. And I am number 1. My firstborn, Nyambura, is number 2, Mongai is number 3, and Joy is number 4. From there on, they can possession themselves.
Well, wow. You know, I pick that the shock.
Yeah.
The shock of being a pastor's wife. You have not settled, then you are expecting, then you have become an official pastor.
Yes.
And it's quite a shock. You see, this shock actually portrays the strength of a woman, which is normally hidden.
Yeah.
And it is hidden because a lot of people for they are the weaker vessels. We take that scripture and say these are the weaker vessels, and their strength is not seen. But when you talk of that shock and adjusting to that shock, it's quite a step. Oh, Reverend Faith. Now I told you Faith is the pastor to Bishop Peter Ndongo of Overcoming Faith Church, and she also has been in the ministry for some time. What is your story? We just got a small introduction.
Yeah.
What is your story?
Thank you, Bishop. And as I said, I'm so excited to be here tonight and just to be able to be a blessing to a young pastor's wife, or not necessarily young, but somebody who is there and sometimes wondering what's my place. And I would say how I plugged in it. It was very interesting, actually, maybe dramatic. Because one of the, I think I've shared my story before. I wasn't always married to a pastor because in my first marriage, my husband was not a pastor. And I always never really wanted to be a pastor's wife.
Maybe just before you continue, I could ask, could you tell us about you have said about your first marriage, now second marriage. There's somebody who doesn't know you. So they would be wondering, Kwani,
yes, it's not that I duped my husband and got another one. But my first husband passed on and went to be with the Lord.
Okay.
He was a good brother. He loved the Lord. We used to go for missions together from when we were youth, got married. We went for missions together. One of the things I knew is that he would never be a pastor.
According to his word.
According to his word and the way he was. He just wanted to be a good brother in the Lord. And he used to preach, actually. He preached the last Sunday before he passed on. He actually preached in our church. He was invited to preach. But he was not a pastor. I used to look at the pastors' wives in our ministry that time, and I used to feel like they're so burdened. Like, I used to feel like they are not recognized. Their place is not really recognized. I used to feel like they're judged very harshly. People had a certain script of how a pastor's wife is supposed to be. And they were expected to behave a certain way. Their children were supposed to behave a certain way. And so I really didn't want to be a pastor's wife. I actually used to empathize with them, and I loved my pastor's wives, but I didn't like their position. And so now, my husband died, and as time went on, I met Peter. Peter was already a pastor. And so there I was going to be a pastor's wife. And even when he started bringing me into the church, there were a lot of expectations. You know, people would start to see there's something going on here with our pastor. He has somebody that they seem to be friends, and I had the children. And so even when I would miss church for a reason or another, the women would be there asking, where were you? And I would complain to him, why are they following me up like that? You know, like wanting to know where I am. And he's like, you know, they can see that you're likely to take the position of the pastor's wife. That was very scaring for me. I just wanted to be a good girl, a good Christian, good Christian woman. I used to serve in the women ministry, but not to be in the limelight, as Pastor Alice is saying. I wanted to just be able to sit back there, come and go, and not have a burden. And so I married him, and he was already a pastor of a small church. So everybody knew everyone else. Very tight kind of fellowship and a lot of expectations. And so that was really not easy for me. But as Pastor Ali says, I think what helped me to loop in, one was that I was already in ministry. I loved to serve God. I just loved to serve God. I loved to work with people, and so that was not a problem for me. But more importantly is that he held my hand. And he kept assuring me, you know, what, they're asking for you because they love you. And I'm like, are you sure they love me? And then he would encourage me, just be your your own person. Because when I came in, he had also been married, the wife had passed on. And so people will start to tell me, oh, she used to be very good with the youth ministry. And I'm like, I don't think I am very good at working with the youth. And he encouraged me, do what you love to do. And so that is how I came into the ministry. It was not easy also, as she's saying. For me, now I'm a pastor's wife. And actually, I'm a widow to begin with, and then I've gotten remarried. I have 2 children. These children hadn't been in that position of being pastors' kids. Now they are pastors' kids, and people want them to dress a certain way, to behave a certain way. So it was quite an adjustment. But I love it that he really held my hand, encouraged me, very patient with me, allowed me to, just to settle in. And so as time went by, I realized I settled in, and I'm grateful to Bishop Peter because of that time he was pastor, of course, but he held my hand and helped me. Yeah.
Wow. From what I'm picking is that the role of the pastor is very crucial. The role of the husband,
Yes.
in bringing in the pastor's wife into the into recognizing their ministry and their calling. And so how did you handle that situation? You are a mother, you are a pastor's wife, you are now you are expectant, you are carrying a child, and now
I was working,
and you are working, you are coming now, getting into the ministry, and now you are a pastor's wife.
Let me start by saying this. One thing, I'm usually very passionate about pastors' wives. And I attribute this to what I went through. I wouldn't want any pastor's wife near me to go through what I went through. With all those expectations, I wish today I look back and say, I wish somebody called me, or there was a Bishop Mark to call people and you talk, and maybe I happen to listen. So I sincerely attribute this to the patience my husband had on me. And maybe something else you need to I bring to your attention is, it was a small church. Actually, to be precise, it was a hired ground, which used to be, in the weekdays, it was a pig's place. But the owner of the shamba allowed us to put a mabati on walls and top, and then on Sunday it used to be our sanctuary. Meaning on Saturday, we had to come there with a few women, pour some water because the floor was mud, so that by tomorrow Sunday there won't be dust as worshippers come. We were just a few, so there were so many demands, and there were very few. He was willing to work independent of me, but still acknowledge I'm doing something, because he would wake up so early on a Sunday. Remember, he's the pastor, and go and set up the equipment in church. Sometimes we didn't have nothing, just a darama. And but there was a brother who used to.
And Karingaringa, you didn't
yes,
have Karingaringa?
Yes, there was a mushirika, a member who used to come with one.
Okay.
So, but a few months later, a brother offered that he could be coming with his equipment, but the brother was living in Buruburu and he didn't have a car. So the pastor, who happens to be Bishop Jimmy, had to wake up very early before all of us on a Sunday with his Volkswagen, drive to Buruburu, carry the brother and his equipment, come to church and set it up, and after church they are busy and doing it, putting them in the same vehicle. So I had to survive with my babies. There was no lift from the house to the church. He leaves very early, he comes back very late after he has finalized everything. But however, what I like about him, he never had those unrealistic expectations. He would look like he appreciates that we are okay. Actually, sometimes he would look at me, I am so harassed. And for your information, even when the babies came, they came in a row, stairs.
One after the other.
One after the other. And they would see the father stand there to preach. That's when they want to run to the front. So it's like the pastor stands to preach, I take off with the babies outside. Because as long as we are inside, one of them wants to run to the father and disrupt the sermon. But even after all that, and sometimes he would finish the sermon, he looks for us, we are nowhere. They have disturbed me until I held their hands and we walk home. Thank God we were living in the same estate where the church was.
Okay.
We didn't have to depend on any matatu or any, we would just walk home. And he asked, what happened? They disturbed me until I decided to walk them home. At least in the house I can contain them. I'm trying to say I still attribute my settling and plugging to the patience my husband had. Because as Pastor Faith has said, immediately, actually the first shocker was the older women I was seeing at the Deliverance Church Isli, where I was a member before I got married. Older than me, they had big children. Then all of a sudden, when they joined my church, they are calling me mom. I was wondering, do they know the definition of mom? And they'll come and ask, mom, now what do we do? And in my heart, I'm asking, you should be telling me what are you going to do? So as the demands came from the members, and I share with him, it's okay, we will handle it. So it's like he kept on reassuring me and affirming me, it shall be well. And today, Bishop, I tell you, it is well. Now, I think I am able to maneuver. But the first, let me say the first 2 years, I attribute my staying power and accepting my role to the role my husband played in not having unrealistic expectations. He would even offer to drive me to work one way. I was working at community, those of us who live in Nairobi. And we are living on the other side of Super Highway, a place called Zimmerman. So I was taking 2 matatus. He would tell me, I'll take you in the morning, but in the evening, you'll find your way home. We could not afford it. He couldn't afford petrol twice. He couldn't. So he would try and make my role more comfortable and still reassure me, you are still my wife, and you're still the pastor's wife. Even if according to the eyes of others, you haven't done much as far as ministry is concerned. I feel he acknowledged my role as a wife, my role as a mother is still part of ministry. And that one really stabilized me.
Did you feel at that time when the kids want to run up, they are disturbing, did you feel at one time that now the members are asking, what is this woman? What is the pastor's wife doing, and the kids running around? Did you feel that situation?
Yes, I did, and maybe this one brings me back to my next point. Thank God for what the Bible calls the older women. I remember one particular Sunday I was feeling so harassed, and one of the older women in church who had slightly older children, they were all big. She used to come and stay in my house because the husband was also a leader. While the pastor and the other leaders, there was no office. So after the members go home, they would stay slightly longer and agree on a few things. So this lady, because they were not living within Zimmerman, she would come and stay in my house. But one day she came to my house and found me so harassed. And she looked at me on the face and she told me, Alice, there's one thing I want you to know. Even raising children is part of ministry. If Jesus came right now and you are here giving them porridge, you will go to heaven. This is part of ministry. So the definition of ministry to me it was like a wake-up call. And I would want to encourage somebody listening there. Maybe you're in that season of raising children, you can't afford to accompany your husband to many meetings, and you are feeling like you are guilty. Embrace your season.
Yes.
And that way you're able to manage. From that point on, wherever I am, I felt even cooking for my husband. It's part of ministry. Because when he comes, he's so exhausted and fights ready food. He's able to move on.
Can you say that again? That even cooking for your husband
Oh
is
yes,
ministry.
oh yes. Actually, this is what I usually we tell one another with my husband. My husband, my responsibility. And he also says the same.
My husband, my
responsibility.
My wife, my responsibility.
Yes.
Sour.
Yes. So he really assured me that she assured me, another woman in church who saw me I'm harassed. Actually, she didn't leave it there. She told me, Mama Nyambura, have you ever gone to a clinic and found a house which has been brought because it has not been washed? I said, what are you telling me? She told me, who told you must wash your house every day? You know, now as a young mother, a young pastor's wife, it's like every day, and you're so exhausted and the young babies. But she encouraged me and told me, it is okay. You don't have to wash it every day. Just wash what the children have spilled on the floor. And then tomorrow when you are fresh, you can do it. To me, the wise words of a more experienced mother settled and sobered me.
Wow.
Amen.
Wow. So, Faith, you have your kids.
Yes.
2 kids are growing up. And you have been married with these two,
Yes.
two kids. And there is the pastor here. And the children are growing up, and they're also knowing this is now our dad. Running. How was your experience?
I must say, first of all, that I'm learning so much, even just listening to her, because she's ahead of me.
Yeah.
I'm feeling like this is for me. I'm still learning a lot of things. And yeah, you know, as I said, I came in with my 2 babies. They were still young and running around a lot. And it was also, it was actually very difficult to control them in the church.
Yeah.
We were in Githurai 45, a small rented place. And just outside the church, there was a mutaro, you know, like a trench, with bad water.
Yeah.
You know, in Githurai, the sewer and everything will all be mixed up. And so I have this fear that my children, especially my boy, because he was young, like he would run and get into the ditch.
And start washing.
And start washing himself. And actually one day he did that. So he looked aside. And this is the pastor's son. The pastor's son. And then I came to learn when they were adults, actually when they became adults, they never told me that one day he actually ran out, because when you ran out of the church, you were on the road. He ran out to the road, and then there was a pickup that was passing, and he saw it was so close. He lay on the road, flat on the road. It came and passed over him.
Wow.
And they never told me until not long ago.
Oh. Wow.
So, and so I used to really have, you know, and it was the same. I was working, and I was in a very busy job, working from Monday to Friday. And then here are the kids. This church is small. We had many people that I needed to teach a lot of things. So I've joined the ministry. First of all, it was a bit challenging for me because there were other pastors' wives, and there were, because we had other churches. But when I came in, I found the way things were being done. Like if there was a seminar or something, the men are the ones who used to say what will be cooked. And because they love ugali, they would always be like, tupikiwe ugali. So I came and I started to teach the women, why don't we be the ones who take responsibility over what is cooked? Because the men are not responsible for the cooking. And that didn't go well with the men. They say there is a new woman in the ministry and she's changing things around. She's changing things around and we don't like it. And you know, I had to start teaching the women actually even cookery. You know, like we would have in our fellowships, we would actually come and do cooking, you know. And the way the ministry was, the pastor's wife was expected to also be in the kitchen with the other women cooking. So it didn't matter how busy I was. If we had something going on, a seminar or something, you must be in the kitchen also. If you don't cook, then the women think she's being, why is she not taking her responsibility? So it was really not easy for me. I used to feel like this is a bit too much. You know, it's a bit too much for me. The balance between my kids and they're young, and then the job and being there. And if I missed to be in Acacia on a Friday,
it's another story.
Then it's another story because the pastor's wife did not come for the kesha. She's not deep enough, you know. She doesn't love to pray. If I traveled because of work, where is she? She didn't come. And so I always used to feel like I have to be there for every meeting. I have to be there with the women doing everything, like you're saying, coming to wash the church, making sure we are taking care of everything. And so it was really not easy for me. But I think the comfort I had was, for me, not the women in our church, but the other women that were in ministry, because I had come from a bigger church. I had come from Christian church. At that time, it wasn't Christian Church International. It was Thika Christian Church. And there were women there that were older than me. And because we kept in contact, like I remember one pastors. She was a pastor's wife and a pastor also called Lois Byler. Today she's in the US. She was very encouraging. You know, just her teachings, just the words of encouragement, and I would actually call her even to speak to the women in our ministry, and that used to really help me to be able to see how can I actually just settle in and feel comfortable, be my own person, not try to be somebody else, because I always used to feel like I needed to behave in a certain way. And why I had feared being a pastor's wife is because I looked at the pastor's wife and I thought they behaved a certain way, they dressed a certain way, they talked a certain way, and I didn't feel like I was that. I used to feel like I'm rough. Like I like to have my freedom to just be me. But then it's like pastors' wives are not like that. They are so humble. There is a way they dress. There is a way they dress their girls. You know, and sometimes a woman in church will tell my house girl, you need to dress this girl in a certain way. You know, she's a pastor's daughter. You know, she has to be dressed in a certain way. So that was difficult for me. But I think having other women that I could go to and say, I am struggling. I'm feeling like I don't measure up. And telling me, you know what, be yourself. And the fact that my husband kept telling me, just be you. Just be you. That I think really helped me. The other challenge that we had was, again, being in a small church. We didn't have many people to do a lot of the things. One of the things, okay, let me go back a little bit, how I joined Peter in the ministry, even before we got married. We actually used to go to Deliverance Church Githurai with my sister who was living with me just to support me. And Peter would keep inviting us to go to his church because we had known each other for many years, preached together in evangelistic meetings and such. And so he kept saying, please come and visit me. Come and visit me. I have a church in Githurai. So one day we visit him and we look at the way the church is, the setup, and there are no people. There are not really many people to serve in terms of people who are skilled, people who are even mature spiritually. And when we went back home, my sister told me, I think we need to go to that church and support Peter. And so we went to support him, and I'm still supporting him up to today.
Faithfully.
Faithfully. And so we joined the church. When we joined the church, we entered to the praise team. We were in the choir. Never mind, I was never a singer. My sister was a singer. But they only used to have one sister leading the worship. Whenever it was worship time, they say, Sister Mercy, I still remember, Sister Mercy, come and lead the worship. So we said, you know what, let's join the praise team. And so we joined the praise team. When we sing English songs, then people say, tumeletewa kizungu mingi, huku sisi hatuelewi kizungu. And I wasn't good at Swahili. So I would struggle. Actually, I used to struggle so much because if I speak Swahili, I'm speaking very bad Swahili. When I speak English, then people are saying, anatuletea kizungu mingi. And they also knew where I was working, so they think ni kwa sababu anafanya kazi na wazungu. So I must say for me it was a struggle. Starting ministry as a pastor's wife was really not easy. But what happened is that I continued to find my place. Over time, as we continued to grow a praise team, I realized I didn't have to be in the praise team and keep croaking and losing my voice. Somebody else can do it. But I actually did every kind of ministry. From the praise team to being the women leader to everything that could be done. We were actually doing everything. But as the ministry continued to grow, then more and more people started to grow and become responsible. And so it started to become easy. So I must say his encouragement helped me, the encouragement of other women that I could go back to and say, how did you people cope? Because now I had a lot of respect for my pastor's wives from Thika. I had a lot of respect. I saluted them because I thought, if this is what you people went through, then you are very remarkable women. And so I thank God for them. And finally, I started to find my place. I think what helped me cope is deciding that I want to be myself. I will never be anybody else. There was Beatrice before me. I said, I will not be Beatrice. I am not here to wear her shoes. I have my own shoes. And then I decided there is a ministry in me to minister especially to women. I'm going to minister to the women. And so I started slowly by slowly just having a fellowship with the women, and we are doing things together. We come learn to cook, we come wash the church, we come do different kind of things. And I started having friends among them, feeling there are women who appreciated me. And actually, I must say they appreciated me as they started to know me. Initially, they didn't know me, and they were not trusting me, because I came in as a mother with 2 children. Pastor didn't have kids because his wife passed on when she was 8 months pregnant. So there was a feeling of, this woman, I think, tricked our pastor. She wants to have somebody bring up her children for her. You know, and then and as I'm saying also, I wasn't good in Swahili. So again, they are feeling like, she's too up there. So if I come and say this food doesn't have enough salt, somebody will add salt because you said so. You know, it's not the way you can have people that you're relating and can actually have a conversation. It's like what you say, it's what you do. They really didn't trust me. But then I started developing friendships, visiting them in their houses, just having one-on-one talk, having fellowships that I could teach them. And as we did that, and I was also teaching the families, now they started to actually accept me. And I think that helped me now to settle in and start feeling I have a fellowship and I have people that care for me.
Okay, that's quite a story.
Yeah.
That's it's quite a story.
Very unique.
When with all the expectations of the people, and then the way they are looking at you, it can be quite disturbing. Let's come to now Alice, and let me ask you this: what are the things that you like about being a minister's wife?
Wow. One of them is like this one. Opportunities. Ministry just opens doors for you by virtue of being a minister's wife, a pastor's wife. And just accompanying my husband, I have been able to interact with many people who have been contributed so much to my life. So open doors. They just swing open. You don't look for them. Sometimes they look for you. So that is one of the things. Number 2, all along, if I am no longer where I was before I joined ministry. Never mind how. But I found that there is also something I can do in the house of God. That even if I'm all alone somewhere, or you take me and drop me anywhere, I will not be idle. I can assure you. I feel there's something I can give to the world. So I think being a pastor's wife has helped me identify that there are gifts within me. There is always something for me to do. Wherever I find myself, I will either be learning or be teaching. So I think that is one of the greatest rewards. And also knowing that I can contribute to some other people's eternity. I mean, when I go and encourage those ladies or those members or those children and they love Jesus more passionately, I'm contributing to their walk of faith. I think that one has, just to feel, the other day we were talking to my husband. I come from Muranga at a place called Kenyona. Yes. So the other day I was telling my husband, you know, today as I was praying, I asked the Lord, yani you even know Kenyona? Mungu unanishangaza. So you know the mentality, like you thought you come from back of beyond,
the end of the world.
Yeah, back of beyond. It's already back.
But then,
So, and I was amazed by the grace of God, how wide it is, that He could pick me from that place, bring me to His, and cause me to feel there's something I can do in His house, in His vineyard. I think that is one of the greatest rewards. Maybe I was still in Kenyona. When I was in Kenyona, I wasn't doing much ministry, Bishop. So now to come here, and I never looked for it. You know, He found me. And He told me this is the way. And we walked. And as we walked, I found my place in the house of God. It has been very fulfilling.
And Faith, what things have you liked about being a pastor's wife or a minister's wife?
I think, as Pastor Alice has said, one of them, of course, is the opportunities. Opportunities to serve God, because I love to serve God. And I remember when I was in college, I was put to serve as a Sunday school coordinator. And at some point, I used to feel very inadequate, like I really couldn't do it. And I actually left, I resigned. And so when I got married to Peter and we started serving God, and actually now started the children ministry that we have, I realized that God had been preparing me, and there was something he had seen in me about serving children. I actually had to really repent to the Lord that I left that ministry. I absconded because, but I think I was in God's training school. I had absconded. And so one is the opportunities it has afforded me, because together God knew that there was a ministry to bring healing to lives. And I look back and wonder, if I didn't go go through what I went through and got married to Peter, would I actually be doing the things I've done? So for me, opportunities. God opened a door for us to be able to serve him in that very big way. You know, we have taken care of over 600 children that are vulnerable, that are abandoned in our years of being married, which today we are actually 20 years today. And when I look back, I attributed to the fact that I married this pastor. And of course, I was able now to grow. One of the things is that being a pastor's wife, it's like you put right in the fire, but through that fire, there is such good refining. I have been refined. I feel like I'm a new person. Sometimes, let me say, there are times I think, if my husband came back to life today, would he recognize me? Not physically. But who I have become. I see it's because of being married to a pastor. Because it's like you're thrown into the fire. People start calling you mom, like you're saying. One time my son asked me, why do people call you mom? You're my mother. And so he's wondering, why are all these people calling you mom? And I realized I was given an opportunity to become a mother to many, many people that have come through our hands and maybe left, that are there today, that will come into the future. I mean, and that for me is a great honor from God. Being given an opportunity to preach and grow in my ministry of teaching and preaching. Because again, it's because he allowed me, you know, the platform. He has allowed me to have that platform. That I can actually stand in front of the church and have something to tell them. And that has helped me to grow in who I've become, to realize my purpose. I don't know whether I would have realized that purpose if I wasn't married to a pastor. But today when I look back, I say he's been my pastor. My bishop and my husband has been my pastor. I have grown. I've grown in faith because of just walking with him, because of the things he has believed God for. There are times ministry things will be very hard. And I'm thinking, how are we going to make through this? How are we going to navigate this? And then he's very calm. And he doesn't seem to be moved. He won't even lose sleep. In fact, he laughs about that. When he never loses sleep. When he goes to sleep, he sleeps. Why would he lose sleep? But there are times there has been big things. Not in my family, but in the church. And I've gone and lost sleep. And then I hear him sleeping there and snoring for that matter, because he's comfortable. And I say, there's something this man knows that I don't know. And I've learned from him to actually allow God to work in the lives of people. And so I feel like I've even learned to appreciate people more with their messes, with their greatness, with all their weaknesses and everything else. Being a pastor's wife has helped me to just love them. Just love them and give people an opportunity to grow. And so I would say opportunities have been many, and I thank God that today I am serving God where I am as a pastor's wife.
You know, we had the pastor's kids here with us some times ago. And I asked them the same question. I asked them the same question. What is that you have liked being a pastor's kid? What did you like being a pastor's kid? And some of them said, well, positions. And if we go for a wedding, we are given the first seat. And we don't have to go and queue. Food is just brought where we are. And it is brought good food. So they said we are recognized, we get recognized. They said we travel. And then now when our dad travels, we all travel together. From when we were small, we were waiting when there's going to be a wedding somewhere or there's going to be a meeting somewhere. We'd jump into the car and we would go and do all this. And meeting people.
Yeah.
They also, those are opportunities. So I was wondering, are there people you have met in the ministry or in life who you feel this one I would never have met if I was not married to this man?
Oh, I'll tell you, many.
Or places.
Many people. And sometimes I look at some of the places we go to and the people who are serving us, and I wonder, who are we? When you talk of coming from beyond, behind, back of beyond, yes. You know, mwisho wa rami, you know. I mean, I came from a village as a last born in the family, never expected to really give an opinion or do anything.
Yeah, now you're talking.
And then here I am. And I have traveled the world. I have traveled to so many places because of the ministry, because of the children that we take care of. And I've met people. There are some places we've gone to in some houses, and the people serve you, and they make you sit there, they make you sleep in some places, and you think, my goodness, who am I?
You feel like pinching yourself.
Yes.
To find out, is this the girl from the village or something?
Is this the same me, you know, that didn't know, I mean, what I would become, who was very fearful. I also used to be very fearful in terms of, I was timid. I was timid. I didn't want to get to, you know, like even to be on camera. I didn't want attention. I wanted my simple life, you know, at the back there. But then marrying a pastor has made me to just, you know, I'm thrown into the front, go there. But with that has also come very, very good opportunities. There are times I feel embarrassed when we go somewhere, and we have to be served and told, come sit here, and we have brought the good food, as you're saying, when other people are queuing. But then I say, that is God, you know, this is for God.
Yes. Are there people you have met or places you have gone?
You can ask that again. And this time around, I want to be very specific, because one time you are part of that.
I was part of that.
Yes.
What is that?
I know I gave you the testimony, but you forgot. But let me repeat it again.
I will tell you something before you repeat.
Yes, Bishop.
One of the things that God gave to man to keep him alive longer is the ability to forget.
We need to learn that one.
Bishop. There was a time in the early 2000, I just loved to enjoy to listen to TD Jakes.
Oh, okay.
And in my house, even my children, they were young. That program, if TD Jakes was coming on the TV, that time there were not many Christian TVs.
Yeah.
From wherever I am, they would call me and tell me, your pastor has come. Come and listen. And definitely I would stop whatever I'm doing and come sit down and listen. I would listen, then when I finish, I would say, one day, you will watch me seated in his church, the Potter's house. When you are here and I'm there. And they used to make fun. Do you know the vessel he used? My bishop.
Wow.
I used to tell my husband, everybody in my house, my children knew that, that one of my dreams is to worship at Potter's house. And lo and behold, one time, I think 2001, you were invited to Potter's house. And that was not enough. You were sent tickets.
Wow.
And you invited the current, a few of the apostolic
the
team.
7 elders. That time they were the 7 elders.
To join you.
Yes.
When you called for the ticket for my husband, and he read where it is going, he said, God has answered your prayer.
Wow.
I will look for my ticket. This one will be yours.
Allah.
So, the rest is history.
Wow.
God using you, you took me to Potter's house. One of those opportunities Faith is talking about. You look at yourself, and for the first time I entered those long vehicles. What are they called?
Limousines.
Yes.
Limousines.
And because the bishop was celebrating 25 years of ministry, so one of the evenings, we came to be picked from the hotel. One, when we got to the airport, we were picked, taken to a hotel.
Yeah.
We were not paying.
Yeah.
all paid for. Those opportunities we are talking about. And then the day when there was to be the dinner, we were picked by my Arimozin to a hotel. Thank God for Nikki. I think Nikki was the only one who could identify with my excitement. You people, you are so many. You look like you are. But Nikki gave me company, and we took photos with Nikki because I was wondering where we are. And the rest is history. Wow. So ministry opens doors for you until you wonder, excuse me, is this me? Because I said yes one day to be married to a pastor.
You know why I asked that question? Because there is a lady there who is wondering, why did I get married to this man? What is going on? How we don't seem to be going anywhere, and we are just marking time. And she's looking at her husband, and she's asking, where did this man come from? But not knowing that there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Let me tell you, there is no better place to be than to be where God wants you to be. And when we preach and tell people that God gives us the desires of our hearts, he means exactly that. And to finish the story, when it came to be, it was a leadership conference. We used to be picked and we would be taken to the front seat at Potter's house. And there was no other people in front of us. We were there. It came to pass that Alice from Kenyona was in Potter's house, and not just in Potter's house, at the front seat.
Wow.
And then we went for a dinner, and the bishop was going around and greeting us, and I was saying, oh my goodness, this is me. It has come to pass. And I would want to encourage somebody there. Let God know the desires of your heart. How he will bring it to pass. Mine, he decided to use Bishop Mark. I don't know he will use you, but he has got all the resources. Just be faithful where you are. Do what you are supposed to do in his time. He'll bring it to pass.
Wow. And all this came because you are married
to a pastor.
To a pastor.
To a pastor.
So that buries or clears all the troubles that used to be there of sweeping the dusty car.
These days I no longer sweep by the grace of God. This just a season. Be patient. God loves process. You grow like a tree. You grow from step to step. You may be sweeping the church and maybe it is rented. It is okay. There is no tree which you plant from. You climb from the top. You always climb from the bottom. Just be faithful with the little. The Bible says, if you are faithful with the little, the Lord can entrust you with more. And his ways are not our ways. So just be faithful and keep reminding God that you have some desires.
Wow, this is great. Now, tell me, Faith, opportunities that are there, positions have been there. What have you not liked?
Maybe before I even go to what I've not liked, I was just thinking also something that I find as a privilege to me as a pastor's wife is also the fact that God has entrusted his servant to me in terms of, I believe the pastor's wife is his pastor. Because you are the only one sometimes who can tell him some things. If he has a blind spot, I hope you allow us to tell you the blind spots. We are the only people that maybe are able to tell you. And you know that it's coming from a good heart. And so there are many times I find myself praying, Lord, help me to be the best wife for your servant. Because you have given him a very big ministry of shepherding your people. And for me, it's a privilege that God saw that it is me who fitted. As I said, I never saw myself as pastor's wife material. If there is something like people who are material for that, there are people I look at, and that one looks like a pastor's wife. But the fact that God entrusted me with that ministry, to minister to him, to be alongside him as he's shepherding the people of God. I also find that something that is very, very remarkable. And I don't take it for granted because God would have given him anybody else.
Yeah.
But the fact that he has entrusted that to me, to pray for him, to support him, to make the home habitable and a place that he is able to hear God. I think for me that is also a great privilege because you can make the home in a way that he's not able to hear God when he comes home. You know, like I remember one time because I'm a tickler with time, and my husband I'm a dot person, but he's a dash. You know, the people who talk of 8-ish, you know, and I talk of 8. And one time, I would be always like, we are getting late for the church, we are getting late. And one morning he told me, you can make somebody lose the sermon. And that woke me up. I thought, my God, I don't want to ever live my life in a way that I can actually make the man of God not to be able to minister to people. You know, and one of the things we had to agree on is whether things are working on a Sunday morning or not, we will not quarrel on a Sunday morning. You can put a comma and wait to pick the quarrel later on
in the evening,
because early on when we were when we had just gotten married, we would something will come up on a Sunday morning, and most of the times it will be about time, because I'm like, wake up, wake up, you're gonna be late, and then don't keep the people very much, don't do this. And then I had to learn, like, what, you can harass him and he's not able to deliver the word, and I think that is a very great place for the pastor's wife to know, making the home good, making the children settle in the right way, making the house be organized. And it's not just, and it's like what Pastor Alice was told, when you're giving your children porridge, you're doing ministry. The fact that when you keep that home in the right way, you're actually helping the man of God to be able to relax in his home, to listen to God, and to go serve the people of God. And even being able to release him to go and serve the people. Because sometimes we have to really release. When you want him here, you may have to release him. You may be in the hospital, but he has a mission. He has something going on, and just, I think for me, that is also a great, great privilege, being a pastor's wife, that God saw you are the right person for that man. And sometimes pastors, the things they do in people's lives are great things. So I wanted to add that before.
Maybe even before you come to the things that you don't like. I think what we're going to do, that's a very is something which is super. It's great, and it's helping somebody who is watching. And our time is so much gone. So what I'm thinking is that we will continue. We'll put a pause. We'll put a pause and continue. Then when you come, we will pick from there. We'll pick from there if you want to add something on the things that you like, but we want also to find out what are the things that you don't like in being a pastor's wife, because it can also be very, very frustrating. I can tell you, I spent some time with the pastor's kids, and they also had a forest of things that they did not like. Viewers, I hope you have enjoyed yourself and you have benefited from these two ladies who are filled with great wealth and great treasure. From experience, because they said experience is the best teacher. I'm talking to a pastor's wife who could be going through a hard time. I want you to know that the hard time you are going through is not permanent. It's just for a time. You may be going through challenges with your children, or you maybe you have come to formed this habit of quarreling with your husband every Sunday morning. I want you to know it is not permanent. It will also come to an end. Jesus said, "You shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free." Or you could be a member of the church and you are looking at the pastor's wife and you are saying, this is not a pastor's wife material. I want you to know the material is still being worked on. And when God works on material, he doesn't make any mistake. But for tonight, we want to say thank you so very much. This is Open Talk with your pastor and your friend, Bishop Mark Kariuki. We'll see you again this coming Wednesday with the same guests. God bless you.
Amen.